Welcome to the October 16th meeting of the Milford Planning and Zoning. I'd ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call from the left.
Good evening, I'm Brian Collegian.
Nancy Austin.
John Grant. Carl S. Moore.
Scott Marlowe.
Bob Sadie.
Peggy Kearney.
I'm Jim Quish. We have Meg Green and David Solskis as staff. New business. We have a construction easement, CGS 824 request, Flax Mill Road. Planning and zoning approval request under Connecticut General Statute 824 for a construction easement in favor of the state of Connecticut. David?
It's construction season. So we have this 824. Again, it's between the state of Connecticut and the city of Milford for the reconstruction of the bridge on Flax Mill Road.
Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion. Mr. Sadie?
Mr. Quish, I make a motion to approve the request under Connecticut General Statutes 824 for construction easement in favor of the state of Connecticut on Flax Mill Road for the Flax Mill Road Bridge replacement.
And John, Mr. Grant is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Item number 2 is a reciprocal easement at 1523 River Street and 25 River Street. Planning and Zoning Board approval requested under Connecticut Statute 824 for a reciprocal easement. The applicant, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. My name is Bernard Pellegrino. I'm an attorney with the Pellegrino Law Firm in New Haven. I represent the owner of the property, and with me this evening is Mr. David Fernandez, who is the principal. The application essentially is seeking a favorable 8-24 referral for the cross easement. The issue is there's a footing for the existing building with which our client owns that was shared with property that was on the building that was on the property now owned by the city, as you see it on the map. And we're seeking to memorialize with a cross easement both parties' rights to utilize the footing both now and into the future. And we have some improvements that we are looking to make to our building as part of the development of the restaurants that Mr. Fernandez currently operates and is looking to open. And so we need to utilize that footing for some facade work along that side of the property. And that's why we're here. Happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I will tell you that City Attorney Burcham called me earlier today, and he explained the same thing that Attorney Pellegrino just said, and the City Attorney's office is in favor, obviously, of this cross easement.
Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Sadie?
Thank you, Attorney Pellegrino. On the easement that we were given, which I believe is a number of pages, the construction of the easement, it was indicated was to take effect as a sealed instrument. Are you aware of that?
The document would be
Yes.
signed and sealed, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It just means because it's going to be, it's not going to be prohibited for public to see. It just means it's going to be a sealed document because it's
Right,
sealed.
recorded in the land records and open for public, obviously, public record.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the request under General Statute 824 for the reciprocal easement between the City of Milford and Luis Paul LLC.
Mr. Moore seconds. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 3 is another easement. It's a planning and zoning approval requested under Connecticut 824 for an easement. This is 123 Cherry Street. Mr. Sulkus?
Yes, the city is seeking this easement for, I guess, the road project along Gulf Street and Cherry Street.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion. Mr. Sadi.
Thank you, Chairman Quish. I move to approve the request under General Statutes 824 for an easement between the City of Milford and the Bango Family Revocable Trust. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Item 4, 26 Cherry Street, petition of Jeffrey Wazakowski, Esquire, for an amendment to previously approved site plan to construct an addition to an existing building on map 65, block 822, parcel 43, of which 26 Cherry Street Associates LLC is the owner.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. I'm Mike Del Rey. I'm one of the partners with Jeff Wazakowski at 26 Cherry Street. Members of the board, we're here actually for two parts. Our engineer is actually distributing right now the plan that the zoning board approved back in October of last year. We're requesting to make 2 adjustments to that plan. We have in no way changed any of the plantings that were approved or the location of those plantings. Our changes are as follows. Number 1, we're requesting to move the location of our dumpster enclosure away from the residence behind us, approximately 2 parking spaces over to the right, which would be closer to Cherry Street, which is the front of our building, rather than the rear of the building, which abuts the residential property. We will keep the same plantings that were requested by the approved plan around that dumpster enclosure. The second piece that we are requesting is to utilize the identical fence material that we have put in as the rear buffer along the entire rear of the property. It's a 6-foot white vinyl fence to construct the exterior of the dumpster enclosure. We've gotten quite a few compliments actually on the fence itself, and we're looking to maintain some uniformity to the fencing and the exterior construction materials that we're using.
Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Sulkus, would you care to comment?
Well, it's just a question to the applicant, just to clarify something. On the plan that was distributed to the board in their packet, not the one that was just handed out, the edge of pavement on the rear of the property is different than what the board approved.
So what we've done is where the dumpster was originally going to be placed, we've extended the pavement area it's approximately, if I remember correctly, about a 10 by 10 area all the way to the far left. Rather than having a dumpster in the mulch there, we've expanded the pavement. The predominant reason for it is we've been in the building now approximately 3 months, and what we're finding is during the day, if we have cars parked on both sides of the parking lot, if you guys have ever driven by and you're somewhat familiar, it's a rectangular lot. If you do not park I'll call outward facing in the spot. So if you leave for the, to run to the bank or to get lunch, and when you come back, the rear spots are virtually impossible to get to. What you have to do is make about a 4-point turn at the top of our parking lot, back yourself down, and that's the only way to get in. So that extra square footage, what it's gonna do is it's A, gonna give us a little bit more, I guess, of a turning radius, but B, the second thing we thought of was, it's October. We turned the heat on actually in the building for the first time, so we know the snow is going to be flying soon, and it also gives us a little bit of a place to store some snow without having to kill off the plantings that we're going to be putting in.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Salkis, I have a question. In changing the pavement lines, are they still within the requirements for lot coverage?
It's such a de minimis amount. I would have to go and look, but we're talking, I don't know, 30 square feet, 40 square feet, maybe.
We're not losing any parking spots by doing this. Again, it was where we're moving the dumpster is between our commercial property and the commercial property that is to the right of us now. It actually expands the buffer, the way that this was structured between the two commercial properties with that October 17 plan. We've widened the space.
Just to clarify your question, yes, it will stay under the coverage percentage.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve as presented, to approve with the following conditions: that the petition of Jeffrey Wasikowski, Esquire, for amendment to previously approved site plan to construct an addition to existing building on map 65, block 822, parcel 43, of which 26 Cherry Street Association LLC is the owner. And Mr. Salkis, I need to add the dumpster information?
Well, the applicant included in the packet, if you're voting to approve the amendment, I mean, part and parcel of this application is the change in the dumpster enclosure.
And approve the relocation, new location for the dumpster.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5, 240 Fresh Meadow Road, request for subdivision bond release by RDB Enterprises LLC. David, will you speak to that in a minute? Yep.
Okay. A subdivision was approved by this board back in 2016 by regulation. We get from them a bond for certain work that's done in the public right-of-way. And in this particular case, they have completed that work to the satisfaction of the city engineer and public works director. They've asked to release the bond, and the city agrees, is agreeable in doing that, with the exception of we're going to retain $16,960 for the sidewalk fund, because it was felt it's better in the sidewalk fund than putting in the sidewalks on this property based on its location. So if the board is amenable, we would return to them $20,127.
Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion. Mr. Sadi?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion that the board release the bond at 240 Fresh Meadow Road subdivision, the amount of $37,087, of which $20,127 shall be returned to RDB Enterprises, $16,960 shall be retained for the sidewalk fund in lieu of installing sidewalks.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comment? All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Now we have old business. We have two regulation amendments that were passed on 10/2, and we need to set a effective date. We've chosen 10/29/18. This is Amendment 2-18, Amendment 5-18, security fence and design flood elevation. And we just need to set the date. So I'd entertain a motion for that.
I make a motion to set an effective date for amendment number 2-18 and amendment number 5-18 for 10/29/18.
Motion, do we have a second? Yes. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. We have a public hearing, 100 Plains Road, Zone CDD1, petition of John Nuff, Esquire, for site plan review, special permit for a proposed office building on map 053, block 304, lots 83 and 84, map 43, block 304, lots 80 and 88A, of which Metro 102 TIC is the owner.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is John Nuff. I'm an attorney with an office at 147 Broad Street here in Milford. I'm here tonight on behalf of Lexmar Realty, LLC, and MetroStar Properties, LLC. They are the contract purchaser and current owner, respectively, of the property located at 100 Plains Road. As we know, this is in a CDD1 zone and consists of approximately 4.5 acres. I would just note quickly for the record that we included all the old map, block, and parcel numbers because I spoke to the tax assessor and he doesn't make the changes as a result of the subdivision that we received in the summer of 2017 until the next assessment, which is, he'll start it now and won't end in November. So out of caution, we included all the old parcels that comprise this parcel now. So that's the explanation for why you called out so many different parcel numbers. So as I indicated, this parcel was the result of a subdivision application that's approved by this board in the summer of 2017, and at that time the board also approved a special permit application for a hotel at this location. This is an application to amend our special permit to modify the hotel use to an office use. Because the nature of the two uses are different, it was considered to be a major amendment and thus required a public hearing. So while the two uses are different, the proposed office building will be smaller in all respects than the approved hotel. And there's a summary in the handout that I just gave to you, and you'll see that there's a smaller building footprint, less building coverage, less impervious coverage, reduced height, and less sewer usage. And if you turn the page to the letter that was prepared by Dave Sullivan, my loan Broom, you will see that even though the hotel had minimal traffic, the proposed office use will have significantly less than that. If you looked, you'll see that during the weekday morning peak hour, the weekday afternoon peak hour, and the Saturday peak hour, significant reductions in traffic for all three of those peak hour analyses. We have received no negative comments from any city department, including your city engineer, including the police department, and Ron Wasmer is going to take you through the site plan quickly in a few minutes. You know, we all know that zoning concerns itself with the use of real property and not the user, but I would be remiss if I did not note that the intended user of the office building is Carter Mario's law firm. As I'm sure you know, Carter is a proud resident of Milford. He and his wife Cindy have raised their family here, and due to his legal and business acumen, he has created a law firm with literally a national reputation. And due to this incredible success, he has outgrown his space on Cherry Street and now has over 100 employees working in a variety of locations. There's no question that Carter and his firm are true assets to the city, and this office building will enable Carter and his full staff to remain in Milford. So let me ask Ron to take you through the site plan. Minimal changes from the hotel plan that was approved a few years ago, with the exception of those things that have been reduced, as I indicated, but nonetheless, for those who may have forgotten or not been on the board at the time, Ron will describe the site plan.
Evening. For the record, Ronald Wasmer, professional engineer and a land surveyor with an office at 158 Research Drive, Milford, Connecticut. On the board here, I have a colored landscaping plan. Access to the site is from Plains Road. It's a driveway to the major portion of the parcel. It's bounded to the north by the exit ramp from I-95, to the west by the condominium, so there's some open space for the condominium. The south is a residential development at 92 Plains Road that's currently under construction. As John mentioned, went through the bulk zoning standards. This project is smaller than the previously approved hotel, which conform to the regulations, but nevertheless, this is a smaller application, a smaller building. This was the previous hotel plan. Some of you may not have been on the board at that time. With me tonight is Mark Hopper. Mark is the architect with Crosskey Architecture, and he's prepared this building elevation. I can defer to Mark if you have any questions, and then I'll just very briefly walk you through the site plan. We've prepared a site plan package that conforms to your site plan regulations. We have all the bulk zoning information outlined on the site plan, a landscape plan prepared by Matt Popp, a landscape architect. Various details for landscape, existing condition survey. Right now the property is vacant parcel. Grading and drainage. This has been reviewed and approved by the city engineer, Public Works Department. Utility plan, going to be served with public water and sewer, gas and electric. Erosion control plan. We're not doing any major excavations, so we don't anticipate any erosion control. Nevertheless, it's part of your requirements. Various site details for parking stripes, dumpster enclosures, signs. And then there's some lighting plan, conforms to your lighting requirements. All this has been reviewed by the various departments. And then we have some floor plans. I'll be happy to answer any questions. That's my presentation for this evening.
So as I think you can see, this is about as straightforward of an application as you can get. We'd be happy to answer any questions. I think you'll note that while the hotel that was approved a year ago was a very attractive design, the new proposed building, in fact, is the very last sheet in your plan set, is a much more handsome, much more sophisticated look. Stone look, brick, a lot of relief. so it gets shadow lines and a lot of interest as opposed to the sort of more the flat clapboard facade of the hotel. So we think it's going to be a terrific looking building. It's going to be a terrific use, maintaining a very important employer here in the city of Milford, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
David, any comment?
I have nothing really to add, other than it's, I think, a good use of the property, meets our regulations, and in this case, less is more compared to what was previously approved.
Any questions or comments from the board?
First, I'd like to say I like the project. I think it's very important to keep the large employer here in town. The one thing I do see missing is when we approved the subdivision on the adjacent site for the apartments, we had, one of the conditions was to have an emergency exit onto Junior Street in the back side. And it was also mentioned at that time, when the hotel was proposed, was also to have access to Junior Street as a backup, only as an emergency exit, not as the main thing in case the main road gets tied up. It still gives access to that property. And I would, if that was feasible, I would be in even stronger approval of this project if we could get a secondary road in there for emergency vehicles.
And I agree with you, Mr. Grant, that it certainly was the condition of approval that we provide access from the residential to the west. Just let me check with Ron to see if there's an issue with regard to providing access from the office building or this parcel south to the residential parcel. I can certainly see the need or the desire for it for hotel use. There might be a little less of a need for it with our office use, but I just want to check with Ron to make sure there's nothing that would impair our ability to do that. Ron reports that it would be, we can do it with some difficulty, with some grading, but if that's a condition of approval, he said we can manage to do that.
Mr. Chair?
Right now, that back side of that property is actually just a big hole, and then there's a big mountain of dirt on it. And when I was looking at it, I personally didn't see anything wrong with putting some type of grading in there in order to get a drive.
Okay.
Mr. Chair? It should be pointed out that right now there are proposed detention basins that are in the way of giving this access to Junior Street. So it may not be something as simple as putting in a road there. And it should also be pointed out that neither the fire department nor police department had any issues with access to this site.
Thank you. Any other further questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. I would open this up to the public. If anyone would like to speak to this issue, please come to the podium. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from the board at this point? Anyone see any reason why we shouldn't vote on it tonight? Mr. Grant.
One more question. On the plans, there's a 20-foot right-of-way for sewer. Is there a possibility of that particular route being used, graded, or just gravel or something that could be used as an emergency, another exit way?
Mr. Chairman, I thought the hearing was closed. I mean, we'll answer it, but...
You have to speak into the microphone. I can't hear you.
You did close the hearing, so I don't want to speak
No,
out
I
of
mean,
order.
this is still
Okay.
within our purview to ask
Fair
questions.
enough. I just, I believe we can develop a graded path, 20 feet wide, give or take, to get from the office building out either onto the apartment site, which has access to Junior Street. There's also a water main that's going to be installed from Junior Street through the hotel and out to Plains Road, and I believe that we could do some grading in that to provide an emergency access.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's nothing else from the board or the staff, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the project as presented with the additional information, or additional change in the site plan to use the 20-foot right-of-way as to be graded and gravelled or something in order to have a back entranceway, emergency exit or entrance for service vehicles.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Just a question first with the motion. I saw you put in the motion that, are you limiting him to the right-of-way to use that, or are we just asking to establish?
Yeah, that's a good question. It may be smarter just to say to establish an emergency access, whichever way is most convenient.
To use the proposed right-of-way as an emergency. Whichever way is most convenient. Yeah, whichever, great, yeah.
So is that clear enough for you, Meg? I think so. Okay. So we have a motion.
I'll second.
And we have a second. Do we have any discussion on the motion?
Will this new emergency way act as a vehicle for other vehicles that possibly be able to use this access? Because I don't want to have that be a type of concern. So I would rather take the application as is, as it pertains.
Mr. Sadi.
I share the same concern of Mr. Moore. I would like to have this approved as presented by the applicant without changes.
Anyone else? Okay, so we have a motion with the condition. If you're in favor of the motion with the condition, vote yay, and if not, then vote nay. We'll do a roll call.
Mr. Collegian.
I'm against the motion.
Ms. Austin.
Against the motion.
Mr. Grant.
For the motion.
Mr. Moore. Nay. Mr. Marlowe.
For the motion.
Mr. Sadi.
Against the motion.
Ms. Kearney.
Against the motion.
And Mr. Quish.
I'm with the motion.
Only 3 of you were for the motion. The rest were against the motion.
So the motion fails. Do we have another motion? Mr. Moore.
I make a motion to establish the application as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Let's have a roll call.
I'm with the motion.
Ms. Austin.
With the motion.
Mr. Grant.
Against the motion.
Mr. Moore.
With the motion.
Mr. Marlowe.
I'm with the motion because I want to see the project done.
Mr. Sadi.
With the motion.
Ms. Kearney.
With the motion.
Mr. Quish.
I'm with the motion. Motion carries. Thank you. I hope no one was here for the 230 Woodmont Road public hearing because it's been postponed. I wish I had said that at the outset in case anyone was still here. But item 2, the public hearing has been postponed. Okay, next order of business is a zoning regulation amendment 11-17, Article 3, Sections 3153, 3138, and 11-2, commercial vehicles. David, would you speak to this?
As you are possibly aware, we have, over the years, on and off, again, had to deal with commercial vehicles, professional vehicles that have been, on private property, which in some cases has been troublesome to neighbors. And in looking at our regulations, we realized, they really weren't defined well. So we crafted this regulation that would better define what we mean by commercial vehicles for when it comes time to do enforcement. And it just so happened that at the same time this was being crafted by staff, the Board of Aldermen was also doing the same thing for these types of vehicles. So what you have before you, which was updated late last week, is that regulation, our regulation, but using the definitions that were approved by the Board of Aldermen, so we could all be on the same page.
Great, thank you. So yeah, to clarify, we did address this in the Regulations Subcommittee, and were put on hold briefly to make sure that we coordinated language with what the Board of Aldermen were doing. This is not approving a change. This is just sending it out to the various stakeholders for their comment, and then setting it up for a public hearing where we will.
Oh, this is the public hearing.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I misspoke. Okay, so then if anyone would like to come up and speak to this issue, please do so. I apologize. Please state your name and address for the record and speak into the microphone. Thank you.
Donna Dutko, 236 Buckingham Avenue. And I've been paying very close attention to this change, both on the Alderman side and the zoning regulation side. And I have to commend you for working things out between both agencies, because I'm a little disappointed because now I won't be able to park my supersized semi truck cab on my front lawn, but I think you guys did a great job. So I'm in favor. That was a joke, okay? Okay. So
thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Comments or questions from staff, from the board?
I have a few.
Mr. Grant.
Okay. A couple of things on this. Number one, the proposed regulation on the very bottom, it has who the petitioners are, and it states it's from the subcommittee. I'd like to clarify that actually the subcommittee did not review this particular version, so it is not actually being presented by the subcommittee. The second thing, next thing is 3.1.3.8, as proposed, does not allow for commercial trailers to be used or to be parked on the property. During the subcommittee meetings, we did make the statement that we did not want to take and put a hardship on small business people that have like a one-axled small trailer that they have like tools in, like a carpenter or a mason that has a trailer with his tools and equipment on it. To make him park that off his property someplace, it puts a big risk for damage and theft. So for a small business person, we didn't want to take and put a hardship on them for that. So 3.1.3.8 doesn't address that. In the original proposal from the subcommittee, we did address it, and we did have language in there for it. Next item is 3.1.5.3. Again, the same thing. It does not address for the commercial trailers for a small business person to leave one. And what we had said in our proposal from the subcommittee was that a trailer like that would have to be parked on the side of the house or put into a garage or in the backyard. It would not be allowed in the front. So that way it wouldn't be sightly. It would be off to the side of the property or in the back of the property or garaged. The next item is definitions. The definition for camper is existing in our regulation, and the new change I didn't see any problem with. The next, the camp trailer is again listed in our existing regulations, and the change in the wording from, I don't see any problem with that. Commercial vehicles is a new definition, and I didn't see any problems with that. Motor vehicle, motorhome is also a new definition. I didn't see any problems with that. Recreational vehicle, that actually, in this proposal that we have before us this evening, shows it as a new definition. However, it does show up twice in our definitions. Once it shows as recreational vehicle, says C vehicles / recreational. So there's a typo in this, or it's misrepresented. It does, that wording does exist in our thing, so we would have to add to this proposal to delete those two particular definitions to put the new one in. So there's a problem there. Also, 3.1.3.8 and 3.1.53 use the word commercial trailers. In this proposal that's here tonight, there's no definition for commercial trailers. It just says trailers. So I believe we would be I believe this thing needs to be tweaked a bit, and a definition put in for commercial trailers, so that there is a definition for the trailers and a definition for commercial trailers. Trailers would be for somebody that has a small trailer that they use for hauling their tree branches and lawn cup stuff and trash to the dump or whatever, which would allow basically homeowners to keep a trailer on their property. It already states in our regulations that that type of trailer is supposed to be off to the side or in the back. So I see a few problems with this particular regulation, the way it is written, and I would recommend that before that it gets tweaked and some of the addition and wording is changed before we approve it.
Thank you. I agree. I think that what we discussed in the Regulations Subcommittee has not been included, and I think you found a number of issues. So I would like to send this back to our next subcommittee meeting and have language drafted that is cohesive with the definitions that the aldermen have established, but expresses the view of the Regulations Subcommittee, and we'll see if see what the board thinks of what we come up with.